talk about the experiences that young people are experiencing every day, which ideally we have some young people here today, but it's spring break and it's hard to get youth to come in on their spring break. So part of our work at Basic Rights was to really go into the schools all across the state and really find people who had stories who were being bullied and harassed, that they could go directly to decision makers and people in power and tell them what they were experiencing every day, and really bring that at a very raw level of, this is my everyday experience. I don't have the power to change what's happening to me, and I'm relying on you to do that. And so hearing the stories that students brought and shared really publicly and openly was really painful for I think many involved, but also really empowering at the same time, and having youth being able to talk on their own behalf and then see what their stories were able to do to create change was a really memorable experience. And so I think that was sort of the highlight of really what pushed that legislation through.
So Kevin, I actually wanted to bring the conversation back to you because obviously you see a lot of the downstream consequences of the process not working as well in your work with both homeless youth and substance abuse. I think one of the things that was a little bit shocking to me, having only been in the Northwest for about 4 years now, was the number of young homeless people in the Portland metro area, and certainly in Seattle as well. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about your work and about what you see day to day in working with homeless youth and substance abuse.
Yeah, Janice, did anyone listen to the City Club speech, not yesterday or a couple days ago Friday, but last week Friday? Janice Mora, the executive director of Janice Youth, spoke at the City Club and did a real powerful presentation about the state of youth within the state of Oregon. So if they have it on podcast or something, that'd be great to listen to. We see about, in Multnomah County, we see about 1,000 new youth a year that show up on our doorstep. And they come from primarily, there's a lot of talk around, are we serving a lot of kids that aren't from Portland or Multnomah County? We probably serve, out of that 1,000, 75% of them are from within the Multnomah County, Tri-County area. So you look at Clackamas, Washington County, those areas. And then a smaller percentage come from outlying areas outside of those counties, from rural Oregon. And then even a smaller number are the travelers that really make it from San Diego to Vancouver, British Columbia, and travel along the I-5 corridor. And they're hitting all the cities in between. I think Portland is seen as an accommodating city for young people because of our services that we provide here. In most other cities around the nation, you'll never see a system like Portland has. And there are 4 primary agencies that serve homeless kids. As Dan mentioned, New Avenues for Youth, Outside In, and the Native American Youth and Family Association, along with Janice. Those 4 agencies are coordinated through the county. So our services are coordinated as far as from outreach at the very beginning of service all the way through independent living services. And each agency has a role in those services. And we come together at all different levels, from executive directors to program directors to supervisors to line staff, in coordinating those services. So if a youth walks into Outside In and is receiving services, Janice can look up that information when the youth shows up on our doorstep to figure out what they've received at Outside In, where are they in the system, are they eligible for the system, that type of thing. The primary role that Janice serves is more of the crisis function within the system. We oversee the intake and screening function for the homeless youth system. So any youth that's going to be served at Outside In, New Avenues, or NEA needs to be screened at Janice. And so we'll determine eligibility, and it's pretty basic. They've got to meet the age eligibility between 13 through their 25th birthday. Outside of those age ranges, if they're younger, we'll get them to runaway programs to do family reunification. If they're older, we'll refer them to the adult system. And are they homeless? A young person needs to have experienced 30 days of homelessness or in unsafe, non-viable housing situations. So they may be living at a home where there's a drug lab going on or something like that, and that's considered unsafe, and we'll accept that young person into our system. Then from there, they have access into shelter services, which aren't located too far away, 17th and Alder, roughly. Great building that we rehabbed. It was an old hotel, and we rehabbed it, and it turned out to be a perfect space. We serve 60 kids a night. Every night for the last couple of months, we've been turning away young people from our crisis facility. 30 beds are crisis, so it's first come, first served from night to night. The other 30 beds are reservation, so it's young people that are actively engaged in trying to get off the streets, either through education programs, employment programs, getting into longer-term housing programs. Those individuals can stay in the short-term shelter for up to 4 months. Many of them, it's a couple of weeks here, they travel, they come back for a couple of weeks, they stay for a month, they go somewhere else. Many of them may return home for a short period of time, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose again, and the parents either toss them out or the youth is unable to stay for whatever reason. So as far as gay lesbian youth within the homeless youth system, the streets, this is going to go without saying, but the streets are extremely unsafe. They're really horrific. And I don't think most people know that in the city of Portland, because you don't see what occurs in the evening hours on the streets of Portland or in daytime. Within our programs, I really thank God every day I don't do direct service anymore within this population. I do the fun stuff around personnel and management and budgets and those type of things, meeting with county and city officials. Those are, for me, the fun things. The direct service work, those individuals are dealing with young people every day that are being raped on the streets, attacked, assaulted. It's horrific with what goes on out there. And that's just within the, I'll use the word, normal homeless youth population. Now overlay someone who identifies as queer onto that, and then the additional horrific bullying they get from potentially peers or other individuals. It really is unconscionable.
Yeah, I saw that presentation at Kinder Transport at the last showing was last week. It was excellent. People coming from Europe to the United States. It tears kids apart. This part of rejection, and I know someone, particularly one group, the Friends Meeting House,
young people that come into our system, it's all over the map. Some have pretty serious mental health issues and parents are unable to deal with it. They don't have medical insurance. The youth is unwilling to get help. There could be drug and alcohol addictions with the young person or with the parents. There could be those identity issues where the parents are uncomfortable with that young person and don't want them in their household. So it's all over the map. But again, any young person, I think, when they're developing in their adolescence and identity, to get rejected from the people that are supposed to be the ones that keep them safe and care for them is extremely difficult for the young person. And then they come into the homeless youth system where we, as far as the 4 agencies, receive a lot of training, guidance, education around the population that we serve. And so youth that identify as queer, we have staff that identify that way, information throughout the facilities, even in the shelter in Portland. We're probably one of the first shelters in the nation for youth that has a transgendered housing policy, where a young person that comes into our facility, if they identify as trans, we will have a discussion with them around where they feel most safe in the facility, either in the boys' dormitory, the girls' dormitory, and then talk with them about what that means if they decide to go into the dormitory of their choice, as far as being out in public, because an individual going into that dormitory, everybody will know. So if they're not out, the struggles that may occur. And so every night we have youth in facility that identify as trans. So.
I wanted to bring actually the conversation back to Donna and Sean, because obviously you and your work through PFLAG helps to support those strong family units that hopefully will keep people from becoming homeless or choosing a life on the streets. And I'm wondering if you could talk about that in terms of the type of work or the type of issues that you've encountered with parents and kind of working through that process.
Sure. Well, first of all, I really appreciate Kevin's information, but I do want to make it clear that of the youth on the street, about half of them are gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. So they're hugely overrepresented in the homeless youth population. And the primary reason for that, well, there's 2 primary reasons. Either they've been kicked out of their house by their parents, or living in the house has become so unsafe due to physical violence or repeated threats or just assaults on their self-esteem that they do choose to leave. So it's a tremendous problem. I don't think that a family that would throw their child out of their house are the families that we see. I think that's a segment of the population of families who have queer youth